There is much rejoicing. Everybody celebrate. Yay! All right, what else? Screaming Nemesis is banned. And Prof's Eidetic Memory is banned. So, I'm sort of torn by this. I fully expected them to ban Vivi, like, or fully expected them to ban one card from Vivi. I didn't expect them to ban 2 cards. So Vivi's the good part. I'm not sure about Profs. I know there was a couple of professionals that were like, if they don't ban Profs, good luck. The format's not saved. I don't understand the Screaming Nemesis thing, and I'm sure they're going to explain it, but like, I think Screaming Nemesis is kind of like one of the best things that Red can do, and getting rid of it is sort of like, I want mono red to be a thing, or I want red aggro to be a thing. And like Screaming Nemesis, I guess, is like one of those things where it's just like excruciatingly punishing, but like that's what Red does. I understand that Screaming Nemesis as a card like doesn't invoke combat math as it, because like it just disincentivizes combat, and you don't really want to do that. So I understand, but like I think you could do better than this. This is sort of like why you got rid of what's the card called? Monstrous Rage. So, but yeah, I'm happy with this, but I'm a little upset by the Screaming Nemesis ban. But like the rest of this is fine. I'm happy that they didn't get rid of Cauldron because they could still use it, because I think they want it to still see play, but whatever. All right, what else we got? Pioneer. Hardfire Hero is banned. Excuse me? In Pioneer? Nobody expected this, man. Nobody. That's so weird. Modern. No changes. Legacy. Entomb is banned. Nadu is banned. I guess. Nadu's a fucked up Magic card, so I understand that. Vintage. No changes. Pauper. High Tide is banned. I mean, High Tide's kind of busted. I mean, what are we talking about here? Alchemy. No changes. Historic. Force of Negation is pre-banned. Frantic Search is pre-banned. Mystical Tutor is pre-banned. Entomb is pre-banned. What the f***, man? All right, listen. Your propensity to not deal with Eldrazi is just... This is absolute trash, bro. Like... This format is fucked. like, come on, man. I'm gonna give my listen. I understand that you can do this at instant speed and you can get a 20/20 and attack on turn 2, turn 3. All right, but like, Eldrazi has a 2-mana way to deal with this. Like, I'm at a loss for words, man. I don't know what else Historic wants. Like, it's just timeless, no changes. All right. But these are all effective today. So Vivi is gone, like, completely. All right, let's see what they got, what they got here. All right, so this is Carmen, senior game designer. Final restricted announcement of 2025. Saw a number of cards get banned as standard, but the time since then it has become clear that additional action would be necessary. Yeah, we knew that. To the end, we've got a few different formats seeing changes today. Some notes from the team that speaks to changes. All right, as a reminder, we announced we would be lightly adjusting the timing. We plan to move forward with more frequent adjustments. All right, cool. All right, here we go. And then they're going to do a live stream tomorrow. discussing the changes. All right. So, Standard has been in poor shape for the past few months. That's the understatement of the century. Izzet Cauldron has cemented itself as the strongest deck in the format and has an unacceptably high win and play rates over sustained durations. The deck itself utilizes the Izzet Prosthetic Memory Core. We've been previously in Power decks and Just Guy Oculus. Now taken to a new level with Vivi and Cauldron combo. It dominated the tournament, and here's the deck. We all know it is the best deck in the format, and it's not close. The deck has a strong fair game, efficient interaction, and combo ceiling that other decks in the format just can't deal with. The strategy has all its bases covered, no clear angle of counterplay. As a result, the metagame has been unable to adjust, which is true. Like, if you don't think so, go look at the Frank's article and numbers. Izzet Cauldron literally has no bad matchup. Like, the strongest deck is, I think it's like one deck that had like under like 49% or some shit. But every deck, even decks that were geared to beat it, were like 52, 53% against it. And that's with every card that they know of, right? So, all right. To open up Standard, disrupt the Vivi Cauldron combo. Interaction is that interaction is too strong than the rest of the format. We opted for banning Vivi as it is the card that is more likely to create future balance problems if we allowed it to remain. And Cauldron, I think, is leaving soon, so that sort of makes sense. What, you want out? All right. All right. We believe Standard will be more fun and diverse with Vivi in it. True. The clear parallels between Eidetic Memory and Beanstalk, which we banned in June's update, are there clear parallels? I guess. Both the cards are one card game plans that provide a lot of strength over the course of the game. In addition, they're both 2-mana enchantments that draw you a card when you play them. That makes both cards hard to profitably interact with, since both cards leave you up a full card following the exchange. All right. Makes sense. In terms of power level, Eidetic Memory has proven itself as a strong standard engine. It broke onto the scene as a way for Oculus to protest. Yeah, we knew that. Prior incarnations of the deck were healthy additions in the metagame recently with Winter Night Stories and Quantum Riddler, as well as increase of power optimization and so blah blah blah. Yep. To ensure that standard metagame has rooms for new decks that Eidetic Memory is banned. We also acted against the Mono Red deck today. Mono Red has proven itself as the deck the most able to hang with Izzet Cauldron, despite failing to meaningfully prove an obstacle to Izzet Cauldron's dominance, the play rate at competitive events, and our win rate, blah blah blah. Metagames where aggressive decks is clearly the best deck are often painful for diversity because many slower decks can't compete. To prevent this, we're electing to ban Screaming Nemesis. I mean, I guess, like, again, as I was saying, I don't know. I think this card is fine. Like, there should be a punishing, like, aspect to Mono Red. Like, you should be punished for not interacting with your opponents. And I don't know. I just think that that's... I don't think that this... Yeah, I just don't think that you should be hitting Mono Red when Omniscience is in the format. Like, Screaming Nemesis is among the strongest cards in the format. Default to Mono Red, one of the most frustrating cards to play against in the deck. It single-handedly removes most counterplay against Mono Red, giving the Mono Red deck... with Screaming Nemesis, we believe it is far more likely that the metagame will be able to find a healthy equilibrium with Mono Red just being part of the landscape, not the deck to beat. the versions of Mono Red that forego Screaming instead and opt to cards like Leyline and Slickshot for a faster, more all-in version of Mono Red, despite the deck winning. We believe that the strategy is more inherently attackable than the versions with Screaming Nemesis. I disagree. Not that I disagree with that they're able to be like the more all-in is a way to interact with the deck. I think that you should be able to play multiple versions of it. So like, I don't know. I just don't agree that Screaming Nemesis is a problem, but whatever. Learning and the future. A common element in all three of today's standard bans is emphasis on counterplay. At least they acknowledge this, man. Like, this is one of the things that I've said on numerous occasions for years when playing standard is that one of the most, and really they've known this since Eldrazi, I'm sorry, not Eldrazi, but the first Eldraine set. It was no decision mattered, and it was just like you have to play the most. Basically everything tier 2, tier 3, like there's no gap, or rather the gap is so big that you need to just be playing the best cards in the format, and it's not even close. Like their decisions don't matter. Just play the best thing. It's the best thing to be doing, and that's what you should be doing. Where you should have like a bunch of cards that you can make decisions by. Do you want to be more all in, or do you want to be playing Screaming Nemesis for a little bit more grind and a little bit more like punching power? Like, and they're taking that away from Mono Red. I don't know why they're doing this when they recognize that Cauldron stopped all that because it was just the best thing to be doing. And like Mono Red, even with all their all-in potential, still couldn't push through. Like, that should be a signal. Like, Screaming Nemesis saying that Mono Red is the de facto best deck, I would much rather know that Mono Red is the best deck in the format than, like, say, well, I don't know. I don't think that this helps. Like, I don't think Screaming Nemesis getting banned helps, because you've already banned, like, 4 red cards, right? Yeah. The philosophy of powerful decks with appropriate counterplay means we need to be careful with cards like Screaming Nemesis. The role we intended for Nemesis was to give red aggro players who wanted to play their deck in a hostile environment a way to feel like they had room to maneuver and a fighting chance to win with their fair share of matches, which didn't, and it succeeded at the job too well, and instead of denied players who wanted to attack Mono Red the ability to do so. I don't think they did, because they gave one of the most pivotal counterplay cards, or safety valves, if you will, was Shelter by Ghost. So that stopped the Nemesis problem, right? It was like the best card against them. So, like, I don't understand how, like, obviously, like, Nemesis stopped that, but generally speaking, like, when I played with Shelter by Ghost, it was, hey, Velshaw, not just for 60 months, but 61 months. Only thing better than a sub is a resub. Woo is right. I don't know. I when I was playing with white cards and I was playing with Shelter by Ghost and I faced Mono Red, I did not at no point did I ever think that they were gonna beat that card. Like, it was almost virtually impossible for them to beat, because the white cards, Get Lost, Shelter by Ghost, and whatever effectively dealt with. I think now what I will say though is I don't think that they intended, and I don't think they're going to say it, and I'll probably read further. I don't think they intended for Mono Red players to be able to target their own Screaming Nemesis to stop the life gain aspect for that. I don't think they intended for that to happen, which is, I think that's cool. I mean, I don't know. I think that's cool that red players found that out, because it's kind of annoying. But, like, then deal with the card, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, as I said, it succeeded at its job too well, and instead denied players who wanted to attack mono red the ability to do so. I don't think that's the case. We took a risk making a card that insulated mono red against life gain and blocking at the same time, and introduced the possibility that missing on rate would lead to exactly what we've seen play out in recent standard, a strong version of mono red that lacks sufficient counterplay. Missing on power level of a new card is to some extent inevitable, just true, but there are ways we can improve our accuracy. Vivi's an example of where the ramifications of an individual power level mistake were amplified tremendously by our failure to find the interaction with Cauldron. I mean, give yourself more time to figure that out. Like, I know you're planning this a year or a year and a half in advance, but you're not going to find these out if you are making 7. Like, you've increased the amount of sets you've played or made increasingly or significantly in the last 5 to 10 years. So the more sets that you make, the less time you have to test them. And if 5 sets is too less and 7 sets is not enough or too many, then maybe 6 sets is the right amount, and you find the right amount of testing time to find this stuff. But we're not doing that. I'm a Timeless enjoyer now, I guess. I think Timeless is a shitty format. That's just me. But I think Historic is fine. And I say fine in quotes. Fine. As in, you know what the best deck is. You can't interact with it, so just play combo. Which is not a good place to be in. I mean, I knew they were gonna pre-ban Force of Negation. I knew that was gonna happen. What I didn't expect them to do was I didn't expect them to ban Frantic Search. I did not expect them to ban Dark Depths. I knew Entomb was gonna get banned. What was the other card? Mystical Tutor? Yeah. So really, I didn't expect them to get Dark Depths. That's just bullshit, but whatever, man. So yeah, similarly, Prof's Eidetic Memory is the example of a strong engine card where the ever-increasing density of strong interaction available in the format. We've designed and tested Eidetic Memory to murder standard, a format where most of its successful strategies didn't exist. We lack options. We noticed the lack of options and made Steam Core Scholar in the same set to be a great card alongside it. Because there aren't a lot of strong synergies with Eidetic Memory, we felt comfortable printing at a high individual rate. Yeah, that makes sense, because if they printed this at 3, they would just compete with all the other 3s. That makes sense. We thought the overall deck was a medium strength, but really fun. We particularly enjoyed, despite synergizing with card draw, it asked players to tap out on their turn to get full value. Our prediction was it might show up here and there, but that it was unlikely to be the strongest deck in the metagame. And we were right. In for an environment, it took 7 months for the Dust and blah, blah, blah package really cemented itself. Yep. Once we recognized that Eidetic Memory had the capacity to exceed power level alongside creatures that drew spells, cheap, blah, blah, blah. In this case, the answer was extremely. And in the future, this is a question we'll be asking before shipping similar engine cards at high rates. To close out on Standard, I'd like to acknowledge that this year's cadence for ban and restricted announcement has not been ideal. Standard suffered for it, especially in the last 3 months. We believe in our underlying Standard ban list update philosophy. We want these updates to be predictable. We want Standard format to feel stable. While our fundamental philosophy remains intact, we recognize that our execution this year has caused pain, which we needed to address. As mentioned, the next year we'll be increasing the number of ban and restricted announcements. This will allow us flexibility to respond quickly if the metagame ends up in a severely imbalanced state. Again, our bar for blah, blah, blah. Yeah. All right. So overall, I understand what they're trying to do, and I understand their philosophy here. Again, what I don't understand or what I don't agree with, again, I'm not upset by it because I don't play mono red. So hooray, that's one thing I don't have to worry about. I think you can live with I think you can live with the idea that Mono Red is just slightly overtuned with Screaming Nemesis just being this punishing card. I think you could live with that more than how good like Vivian stuff were. And like you just live with the fact that just sometimes your life gain just doesn't work. And maybe that's too irritating, I guess. Because then Mono Red or the format just devolves into who casts Screaming Nemesis and who has it, and like, so I guess that I understand that aspect of it. It's just preference of like, do you want the format to devolve into that? And I don't think it would. It would just force, red decks to be like, all right, so are we playing Boros? Do we want to play like a Screaming Nemesis, Ghost Wars type deal? And yeah, so it really depends on how they want it, and they saw it to be like, we'll just get rid of it so that we don't have to deal with it. Which again, I'm not saying I disagree on the card being gone. I may agree with certain aspects of what they're trying, what their vision is for, like why they took action in getting rid of it. I really wish they would have gotten rid of Omniscience, but they didn't. All right, so Heartfire Hero. Pioneer is in an interesting place. And really it looks good, but apparently Mono Red is a problem. Yeah, everybody knew that was coming, so like whatever. But yeah, like again, if they wanted to do something, then so be it. I'm more in line with, hey man, like, you got to stop printing these red cards, man. Like, these Izza cards, these red cards, they're just too good, man. Hold on. The core problem in the format, especially on Arena, is too large a portion of the format consists of mono red. Decks specifically to prey on mono red. It's for good reason too, as mono red is the archetype with the highest win rate by a substantial. And when you zoom in on best of one, it also
Bruh.
Okay. Rant incoming. Why the do I care about best of one, bro? Why does BnR affect that? Like, you don't even need to mention it. Unless you're going to do something about best of one, which you're not going to do. Especially for Pioneer. Like, what are we doing? This shit is so frustrating, man. It also sees more play the second and third most play archetypes combined. Like, I mean, Pioneer is one of the least played formats right now. And I can tell you why. You're not going to like it, but I'm going to tell you why. It's because basically WotC put Pioneer onto Arena, like 95% of Pioneer onto Arena, and then basically said you're not going to have an RCQ season for Pioneer for 12 to 18 months. That's why the format is where it's at. It's not because of Mono Red being this problem or like one extra deck. It's because no one's playing the format, man. Like, you basically put it on the back burner after you gave all the players the shit. Like, and then you're just gonna mention that, well, best of one is a problem. Like, nobody, like, it's not a testing ground. Like, all right, man. Jesus Christ. And then you post a Pioneer challenge, like deck list from Moto, like while you're mentioning MTG Arena, which has fucking events. Like, oh my God. All right. Our goal with this ban is to reduce the win rate on mono red, specifically by targeting the degree of pressure to have interaction on turn one and risk dying. The Heartfire Hero puts on the format. Pioneer is deep that we believe mono red should be able to comfortably adapt and lessen the inevitability. I mean, like, yeah, sure, but you're not printing any more cards that have interaction on turn one because that's how standard is. Like, you shouldn't have that. So, I mean, again, I can't stress this enough of, if you really want this format to be a thing, like, you gotta give us cards that care about it. And like, we're banning one drops, man. Like, All right, I guess. Modern's in a great spot. Yeah, we figured. Let me hear the historic shit. It's time. Entomb, and Nadu. I don't really care about Legacy, but like Dimir Reanimator apparently is a problem there. Yeah, I'm sorry. If you're Legacy. Oh, hold on. I'm getting there. Don't worry. I'm getting there. Yeah, generally you're not going to see vintage changes unless like the vintage community is like, yo, you got to do something about this, because generally like vintage is it's just like its own community. Sort of like when EDH was a thing, nobody really messed with it unless like everybody who played that format was like, yo, you got to do something about this, because no one's going to stop it. So like generally you're not going to see changes, and if you do, it's like stuff that just like. And if there is change, you're going to see like restriction. It's almost impossibly rare that you're going to see bans. And the only time that you saw any changes, like the last time was like Luris, and then they nerfed it, and then that's when they unbanned it, and then I'm pretty sure that it's still banned. I don't know. But yeah, they talk about like some like Clarion Conqueror and Tezzeret Cruel Captain, which, man, this card seems insane in that. But yeah, generally you're not going to see anything from vintage just because like the format is what it is. Pauper, they unban High Tide and then just to ban it again. Yeah, so basically what that means is you're never going to see this unbanned again. Sort of like the Golgari Grave Troll thing in Modern, where you know they banned Golgari Grave Troll from Dredge. And then, like, they unbanned it for a trial for, like, 6 months, or, like, that's how long it lasted. And then the next BnR, they banned it again because Dredge was so good. But I think that's, like, format contextual, because now it's, like, it's different because Hogok's not a thing, and graveyard stuff is kind of like, we have so many things against it, and we can search for it, so... And Dredge hasn't been a thing for, like, ever. So... I wouldn't be surprised if they, like, talk about it. Like, hey, maybe we can try to make Dredge a thing again. All right. Historic. Here we go. So, again, the only card that I'm upset about, like, really upset about, is Dark Depths. Like, I understand Entomb. I understand Mystical Tutor. I understand Force of Negation. And I really, like, I understand why they banned Frantic Search, but here's my problem with this. You literally banned Frantic Search. You can't. They'll probably talk about it, but before I read the explanation of nonsense that they're about to spew, you banned Frantic Search because you didn't want that card in with Breach. That's why you banned the card. Right? You pre-banned Frantic Search because you didn't want to deal with Breach. That card should not exist, man. That card needs to go away. And if you have a problem with Breach, and it's already a problem in Historic, because it actually is a problem, and I really do think that's the best deck in the format. The only reason you can't play it, or it's not popular, is it's so annoying to play against and to play. Because you can, like, fizzle out. But if the deck was allowed to stay, that deck would be the best deck in the format. It's not close. So, like, and you banned Frantic Search. You're like, I don't want to deal with Breach. Like, just get rid of Breach, bro. Like, what are we doing here? And then Dark Depths is sort of like, they're probably going to be like, yeah, you can do it at instant speed, and Historic doesn't have cards against it. And it's just like, yeah, we do. We have more than enough. But, all right. But here we go. With the plethora of cards from anthologies, sheets, special guests, Historic's card pool has expanded exponentially. They might as well say, I know they said rapidly, but it might as well be exponentially. For now, we're aiming to avoid deck or format destabilization with pre-bans while monitoring I'm sorry, I read that wrong. We are aiming to avoid format destabilization with pre-bans while monitoring the metagame to ensure that no individual deck is out of line. Eldrazi has been enjoying popularity and success in high level best of 3 with the addition of Eldrazi Temple, and is one of the decks that we keeping an eye on alongside aggressive Loris decks, Energy and Auras, and fast combo decks like Val, Lotus Field, and Persist. You know what? Okay, so full send, I'm just gonna let you know. This is the first time in like maybe ever that they've mentioned best of 3 and they mentioned all the decks that are actually good. Because last time they wouldn't put out decks and they would mention like singleton cards that literally saw no play, man. So like for this, finally, you're acknowledging what the good decks are, because beforehand you just never did it, right? And you always were like, well, best of 1, Arena was like, there are decks that we see that are actually getting played. We just don't think that this is a problem yet. So kudos on you, man. Kudos on you, Watsy, for actually like understanding what the format is. I actually think that you actually play the format now. Maybe I'm not going to agree with what you're saying, but at least you acknowledge that you're playing the format. All right, cool. All right, while the metagame at each level of the ladder is reasonably balanced, I disagree, but the power level delta between the most popular decks on the lower ladder, why does this matter, and the top tier decks in the higher, wait, hold on. While the metagame at each level of the ladder is relatively balanced, the power level delta between the most popular decks in the lower ladder and the top tier decks in higher is higher than ever before. You should expect to see more changes to historics as we examine the format philosophy and ban list in the coming months. In keeping with our current format philosophy of free spells, historic players should not have to consider the threat of a free counter spell over the course of the game. As such, force of negation is pre-banned. Watsy, I implore you, why is Snuff Out allowed then? Answer that question. If, in keeping with the format philosophy of free spells, why is Snuff Out allowed? And I guarantee you don't mention it in the article. Frantic Search. Watch what they say. I guarantee you they mention Lotus Field, but they don't mention Breach. And if they do mention Breach, it's like, well, we don't think it's a problem. Frantic Search is a card applicable to most contexts as a free combo enabler. We are reevaluating the strengths of combos that we are happy with in historic. Frantic Search is a risk that we believe should be kept out of the format for now. Didn't even mention what the problem is. Mystical Tutor offers selection of some of Historic's most powerful spells and is more relevant when tutoring up a combo piece. The efficiency redundancy it offers for non-interactive strategy is undesirable for Historic. What are they going to get? Like, what combo piece can you possibly get with Mystical Tutor? You don't have Vampiric Tutor. You don't have any tutors in the format. You don't have Brainstorm in the format. You don't have Ancestral Recall, Time Warp, Time Walk for that example. The only uninteractive card that you're gonna get for format redundancy, and I don't even think that would be good in this format, is Crop Rotation. Like, I don't even think that would be good. So, what other combo piece? I guess Persist, maybe, but I doubt it. Anyway, in 2 I understand. In 2 may be more narrow than mystical tutor, but in the format with persistent necromancy, it is simply too powerful to yeah, I understand that. There was no way that this card was going to see the light of day. All right, let me hear the nonsense. The land tutors available in Historic make Dark Depths way too consistent and non-interactive for a win con with Thespian Stage, which, by the way, takes 2 to activate. Okay, so turn 3 on the play, right? You get a Dark Depths counter. Okay, now few decks can deal with the threat of an instant speed Merit Lage, especially when backed by redundancy and crop rotation. I actually think, like, hold on. So let's go back here. All right. So energy, auras, Val combo, Lotus Field Persist, and Eldrazi. All right. All of these cards, all of these decks besides Lotus Field and Eldrazi play white. So you can effectively play Path Exile, or we figured out that you can't play Fragment Reality, but you got ways to interact with token creatures. And then you got ways to interact with non-basic lands and stuff like that. Yeah, that's it. They mentioned like 2 sentences. So again, I don't even think the energy of the Auras decks are actually that good in the format, to be honest. But they think they are, because like Eldrazi is just so good. I think the combo decks are just too good. That's just my opinion. As in Val combo and Lotus Field, I think are just too good. And like Eldrazi just hamstrings the format so bad because they're able to accelerate faster than every other deck. And then Auras is like the de facto aggro deck of the format that just kind of like, destroys you on turn 3, turn 4, but it's just uninteractable. And then Eldrazi like basically has, 4 mana on turn 2 with no restriction, and then deals with, basically you can't play interaction because Eldrazi just basically just values you out. It's one of the reasons why I stopped playing the Affinity deck, is because you can't literally play any interaction in the deck, because the combo decks, you don't have any interaction because there's so many combo decks in the format. And then Eldrazi, just you can't play interaction because they get so much value on the way in. So the only deck that you can play interaction against is Auras, and Auras is like one of the least popular decks on the format of the tier 1 decks. So like the decks that I saw the most of were Eldrazi, Jund Goyfs, which I think is a very good deck, by the way, and Val and Lotus Field combo. None of those decks are Auras. And then right before the Teachings ban, I saw a lot of Wizards, which I think Wizards should be the aggro deck of the format. And you basically banned the deck out of existence. Like, not only did you lie about this, like you basically were like, we didn't want to have, format destabilization. You nerfed the card that made the aggro deck, the de facto aggro deck that you've liked, like you gave buffs to make it a deck, and then you nerfed the deck that actually had some play right before the fire, which is just unacceptable. And then come up with this, we didn't want to do anything, so we just sort of pre-ban stuff first. Like, all right, bro. Timeless has adapted, in addition to Strip Mine and Ancient Tomb strategies revolving around Architect and Wayward. What does this card do? At the beginning of your second main phase, if guard is tapped, return a target land. There's no way that this deck is good. Oh, from the graveyard to the battlefield. Yeah. Okay, I thought it was from your hand. Okay. All right, that makes sense. And then for you Brawl players, Strip Mine, Mana Drain, Chromox, and Ancient Tomb are banned. All right. Well, about this BnR announcement. Overall, I like it. Like for non-digital formats, I'm cool with it. I may not agree with the Screaming Nemesis ban, but I understand. Like Pioneer, Heartfire Hero, toning down mono red. All right, sure. But the only thing I'm really upset about is how just they continue to just just completely mismanaged this format, man. And again, I appreciate that they finally recognize, it took them 1.5 to 2 years, but better late than never that they finally recognize what the good decks are in Historic. Because before, brother, they were just ignorant to what the decks were. And they would always be quoting like best of one and like arena low ladder. And this is like, nobody cares, bro. Like, get that shit out of here. So yeah, like some people are saying this wasn't enough, and I'm like, what else would you want? Like, I understand that I didn't get everything I wanted for Christmas, but holy shit, man. The only thing that I would want is like they get rid of Omniscience. But that's really it. Like the format seems like you could play the format now, and it's automatic. Like they're effective immediately. So like I should be able to turn on Arena, and it should give me my stuff, right? Yeah. Effective date November 10th. Next announcement date February 9th, 2026. So that's 4 months away. So in 4 months we'll get a historic change. So who are the winners? Who are the winners and the losers of this? So let's see. For standard, the winners, basically every mid-range player ever. You don't have to deal with only combo deck you have to really worry about is Omniscience. And then Screaming Nemesis is gone. So all the mid-range players like Dimir, the Sacrificey decks, tokens, like a lot of decks get opened up here. And a new set is dropping in a week. So we're gonna see a lot of changes here. A lot of shakeups. So standard is gonna be a lot of fun to play, I think. And that means I can go back to playing like, you know, Mardu or Black White Sacrifice or whatnot. Because Vivi, man was Vivi a problem. And then we get to look at other stuff too. But there are cards that I want to try in older formats too. So Pioneer I want to get into, and Historic can go on the back burner for now. And yeah. So I built some decks. It was just allies. We'll build some more probably like Wednesday. Like I'll be making them like throughout the week or whatnot. And then I gotta eat something and then go to the gym or whatnot, and then stores, and then Monday Night Football. So got a bunch of stuff going on, but I am overall I like this. So Wednesday night I might try to play some Magic tomorrow since I'm off tomorrow. And then Wednesday night, and then we'll be on schedule. I'll make a schedule for next week, and then we'll be fully on schedule again. And then we'll be playing a bunch of Standard and Pioneer.